Hello, I am here. I am alive, and we will go through this last class of today. So, okay. Our theme today is going to be, well, the theme for this question is our favorite thing of all time, which is the PE mile. I hope that you've all done a PE mile at least one point in your entire life. If you haven't, you may want to talk to me, and we'll get that fixed. We'll get that fixed. We'll make sure you run a PE mile at least once in your lifetime. So, if you have run a PE mile, I'm sure you have. You know that in a PE mile, you run 4 laps total around the track. And each lap of the track is about 400 meters. Well, it is 400 meters long. And then you start and end at the exact same point. So you start at the finish line or start at the start line. You run 4 laps, and then you end at the exact same point. So in this problem, I want you to figure out what is your total distance traveled, and then what is your displacement after you run the famed PE mile. And then you get 1,000 points of extra credit if you can guess my mile time, but it's only if you can guess it correctly, and you get an A++ in the class. Anyways, so I want you to answer the question in the Zoom chat right here. In a PE mile, you run 4 laps total around the track, each lap of which is 400 meters long. You start and end at the exact same point. So we want to know how long, in other words, what is your total distance traveled, and then what is your displacement, and then extra credit if you can guess my mile time. I remember in 5th period, I heard some very flattering and some very insulting answers here. So I'm prepared to be flattered and insulted at the same time. Let's get some answers in here, up in here. What is your distance travel? What is your displacement? My mile time is 6:40. Good guess, good guess.
How far off am I?
Gabby, good guess, 5:27. I will not tell you. I will not tell you how far up. This is more of a I guess this is sort of a how well do you know me, but it's also how highly do you think of me? Do you think very low of me, or do you think very high of me? And your mile time guess tells me what you think about me. So if you think I'm really fast, then I know that I'm your favorite teacher of all time. If you think I'm really slow, then I know that you hate me as a teacher, which is also okay. That's okay with me. 6:01 from Millie. We got some very precise times in here. I like that. 1 mile in your displacement, 1600. 10:20. That's a good guess. Good guess. 10:20, 6:12. I heard one guess that was 20 minutes. That's pretty good too. I like that guess. I'm pretty sure I could walk a 20-minute mile. So here's the thing, right? I am getting up in my years. That's what happens when you get old. I wake up and everything is hurting. My bones are hurting. My muscles are hurting. And so, I don't even know if I can do a 20-minute mile anymore. My body is falling apart. So 5:56, 5:38. We have some good guesses. Joji 6:10, Quinn 5:27, Kate 10:20. Let's get another couple of minutes or so. 7 minutes from Alex. Is he 5:56? Let's take a couple minutes to try to answer the warm-up question and guess my mile time. 6:05. Some good guesses here. We'll take another minute or so to try to work through this warm-up problem, and then after the warm-up problem, I will reveal the long-awaited mile time that I have. So I think I'm going to go through this. I'm going to just quickly go through this because I think most people have sort of understood the idea. So the total distance traveled is just basically, right, how far did I run in a PE mile? Well, as the name suggests, you run a mile. But let's see if we can actually figure this out. So we run 4 laps at 400 meters each in a PE mile. And so if we run 4 laps of 400 meters, right, it's just the same thing as 4 times 400, which is a total of 1,600 meters. So we ran a total of 1,600 meters. If you did track like I did, this is actually an event in track. We actually don't call it the mile. We call it the 1,600 instead, and that's because it's 1,600 meters long. Some tracks actually have an actual mile marker, and the mile marker actually starts a few feet behind the starting line. But anyways, that's a fun trivia fact. So we ran 1,600 meters, and then our displacement, well, we started and ended in the exact same location. So our displacement is just 0. So the real question is, did we actually run in the air anywhere? And the answer is no, we did not. We sort of just started and ended in the exact same place. We ran, but we didn't go anywhere, which pretty much sums up the story of life. You do a lot of things, and then you end up in the exact same place. Okay, we have a couple of flattering ones, 501 and 430. So another thing that you should also think about is the more you flatter me, the better you do in class. So it's probably in your best interest to be like think that I'm really fast. But anyways, my mile time a minute. So my mile time is actually a 4:58. I ran this junior year of high school during track. I think I actually did this again 2 years ago, I think. So I did the string track. I ran the mile 1 string track to break 5, and then I never ran it again because I was an 800 runner in track, if you know what that means. So for those of you who all guessed my mile time as being a minute, you are all correct. And then you get 1,000 points of extra credit. Wow, Quinn, wow, no way. Wow, what a great guess, Quinn. Right on the dot, 4:58. That's pretty good. Even 4:56, that's actually a pretty good guess. Alex, I'm very flattered, Alex. Thank you for actually, well, initially, Alex, you thought my mile time was like 7 minutes or something. So I'm going to retract. Christina's first guess was 5:01. Oh, Christina's first guess was 6:12. So, oh my God. All right. Okay, so that's just me flexing about my track and field history. We'll see if I can actually do that nowadays. So hopefully the one more question made some sense in terms of how you do it. We will talk a little bit more about distance and displacement today. So so the agenda today, we're going to start our first assignment for the unit. It's called the football reference points. So this is sort of talking a lot about reference points in the context of football. There are a couple people who have already finished this, in which case you can start working on the next assignment, which is the football displacement, the proficiency one. And then if you finish that, somehow there's another one too for the mastery. But I don't want to, just like I have to put this in here because some people finish really quickly and it's like I wasn't really anticipating it. So I've listed everything you need to do in case you finish everything and you're like, I don't know what to do. So next things next. Progress reports are due next Wednesday, 11/18 at November 18th at 11:59 p.m. So what this means for you is that you should submit any roller coaster tycoon portions, any work assignments, any power assignments by then. Any non-submissions will be temporarily given zeros, but you can still submit them afterward for full credit, no late penalty. But the main thing is, right, there's not a lot of time left in the semester, so I do want you to stay on top of your work. I've already started putting out some preliminary quarter grades that are updated as of a few days ago. If I haven't given a grade for you, it's probably because you haven't turned in some stuff, and I'm very hesitant to give you a grade if you haven't turned in something yet. But I will give you preliminary grades at least maybe on Tuesday, and then I'll give you the final grades for quarter grades on Wednesday. This is sort of the last time where your grades, quote unquote, don't matter. Your semester grade will matter. So if you haven't turned in stuff yet, you should start doing so. Again, there's no late penalty for anything. So if you haven't turned in anything right now and you have like a nice 0, you can still get an A. You can still get an A at the end of the semester. Don't worry. So again, I encourage you to do stuff. If you haven't, so here's the thing, right? If you don't do a mastery assignment, you don't get a 0 for it. So that's like, there's no zeros for mastery assignments. There's only zeros for proficiency assignments. And any football assignments, any distance and displacement assignments won't go in your progress report. So it'll only be the stuff we've done previously. And if you haven't done a mastery assignment, there's no zeros for that. It's only for the proficiency ones, which are all mandatory. So hopefully that answers your question, Alex. Yeah. So yeah, so make your stuff. Please do so already. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start our next assignment regarding football reference points. So the next one's gonna be a group assignment because I figured people learn better in groups. The first unit or so was individual. I felt like, okay, maybe this is time to start experimenting with some group stuff. I'm a little hesitant to do group stuff. I like group stuff in general more than individual, but group stuff online, as you know, on Zoom is very, very, very questionable at best. So I'm going to do my best to, make sure some things work well. So let's talk about some guidelines here. So first off, just figure out if your group rather uses Discord or Zoom. I don't really care at this point. I have group roles there just to facilitate group work. The reason why is because a lot of times in a group is you sort of have people who don't really know each other that well, or you don't really know how to talk, or you don't know where to start. So group roles are just sort of there to help facilitate group work. I highly recommend you utilize those group roles and fulfill them to the best of your ability. So that way, your group is engaged and talking. If you feel like your group doesn't need them, if you feel like everyone's contributing and everyone's talking, then you don't really need to go with group roles. So this is one of those things where it's really there to try to facilitate group work, which is very important. If your group is not talking, then you really want to be using these group roles. If your group is talking fine, then hey, you don't really need group roles. I don't want it to hold you back. And then another thing is sort of participation, engagement, and attendance are all very important in a group assignment. Group learning doesn't work if someone isn't contributing. As you all know, in a group project in real school, if someone isn't pulling their weight, it's very, very, very rough, right? We don't like that. And it's even worse over Zoom because you really can't there's no accountability at all. So group learning, because this group learning just doesn't work if someone isn't contributing. And I think a lot of times if someone isn't contributing, it's not really a net zero. It's actually like a net negative because it's just sort of like you have 4 people in a room, 3 people are talking, the last one just doesn't say anything. So that is very awkward. And I think it actually negatively impacts the group. So because of this, I really feel like that group work is a privilege, not a right. And I will pull out people out of groups at my discretion. This is a little harsh, but I'm all about efficiency here. And if a group isn't working efficiently, there will be changes made if necessary, but I doubt that that'll happen. All the groups seem to have worked fine so far. Some other things for group guidelines. So try to ask your group questions before you ask me. That's a way of facilitating more teamwork. People learn better when you're answering questions within the group and you're asking questions within the group. It also helps, it also helps me a little bit too. And also makes makes me have to do less ever. So see if you can ask your group questions before you ask me. Try to keep the group mostly together in terms of progress. Some variation is okay, like maybe within a problem or two, but I don't really want to see one person working on a completely different thing than the rest of the group because that sort of defeats the purpose of a group assignment. And then last but not least, you will work on an individual Google Doc that you'll submit, but your answers will probably be the same as your groups, which is also okay. The reason why I want you to work on an individual Google Doc is because I can actually, see your physical work here. It's kind of hard to sort of assess what people have done in a group assignment. So that's why I want you to turn in your individual one, so I can at least see that you've done it. You've at least done enough to submit it. So that's for that. I just quickly ran through that because, Okay, so we're going to talk about the assignment today. So the assignment today is call this a project. It should be an assignment. The point of this is we're going to look at reference points in the context of a football field. So all of you, I'm sure, have at least seen a football field in your entire life, hopefully at least once. I know a lot of us aren't exactly football experts, but that's okay. I think most of these, or you just try to figure it out to the best of your ability. You don't really need a lot of football knowledge for these. The questions is really just about positions. Other reason why I like football for this is because the football field has a lot of markers. It has the 10-yard line, the 20-yard line, which are all very helpful in terms of understanding how displacement and distance works. So we're going to take a look at that today. Another thing is football fields in general are marked in yards, but because we're in physics we work in metric units. So I expect everything to be in meters, and I expect all your distances and displacements to be labeled with meters. I will be a little bit harsher on this, so I do want you to use meters all the time. Again, this is group assignment. So you should work all together to solve these problems, and you'll probably have the same answers for a lot of questions, but I do want everyone to try to submit their own copy. So there are a bunch of group roles here that I've written out to try to help groups move along if they're a little stuck in terms of how to do things. You sort of have the center/coach. This is a person who's sort of in charge of snapping the ball, but more importantly, they're in charge of starting the problem. So they read out the problem to the team and they help find relevant notes and information to help solve the problem. So you can think of this as just someone who gets the problem going and who tries to find information that helps solve the problem. Here's a quarterback. The quarterback is probably one of the most important players in football. And that's because they're in charge of sort of reading the defense and calling plays. The reason why the quarterback is important in our context here is because the quarterback is going to be in charge of facilitating discussion, trying to make sure that everyone knows what the problem's about and is contributing. It can be very hard to facilitate groups where people aren't really participating. So that's why it's a very tough job here. You have a scout here, which is someone who's in charge of writing down all this information being discussed by the group. The reason I have this one is because sometimes your group has really good discussions on information on particular concepts that won't necessarily go within the scope of your answer for an assignment. So I just, it's good to have, sort of a reference to look back and see what your group discussed, especially on the definition of things, right? You might talk about definition of displacement that might go with beyond the scope of the assignment. That's someone you may want to have someone write down. And last but not least, you have a sideline reporter who's just someone who's in charge of sort of asking questions that the group has and sort of reporting, see where your group is. And if your groups have 5, you can sort of have an extra quarterback or a football researcher or expert who sort of help explain what the problem is asking. Again, these group roles are sort of loose. I will let you sort of figure out what you want to do. But if your group isn't participating, it isn't working very well together, I will try to have everyone try to do their best to fulfill these roles. If you don't really need them, that's okay too. So other than that, there's a few questions in here. I think you should be able to go through it pretty quickly. Most groups were able to finish it within the period. Because most groups will finish it within the period, the due date for this will be the end of next Tuesday, so the end of next class, and that'll be the due date for that. Other than that, if you finish this early, you can work on the football proficiency assignment that is on Canvas, and then if you finish that, there's a master as well. So if you're confused with what we're doing, we're starting off with this assignment, football reference points, and then once you finish that, you can move on to the proficiency. I will open up breakout rooms soon in 1 second. Then we will get started with our very fun activity. If anyone has any questions, this is the time, so shoot me with any questions you may have. Okay, it's 1:10, which means we are officially done with this class and maybe school, I think. So in terms of your homework, just submit any missing assignments that you haven't done already. Try to, if you haven't, so we're gonna, if you finish the reference points assignment, submit that, and then I'll take a look at it. And we'll move on to the proficiency one next week. So yeah, submit all your assignments. Progress reports are due next Wednesday, so submit your stuff by then. Other than that, I have nothing else for you. So then have a nice weekend, and I will see you all on Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you.
Farewell. Oh, I have office hours again, 2:43:40. If you want to show up.
Mr. Who?
Yes.
For distance and displacement mastery, I think you linked proficiency to that one.
Did I do that? Gosh, I could have sworn I fixed that. I know that was it.
Yeah, because when I click on it, it just goes straight to proficiency.
Oh, Gosh. Okay, hold on. Wait, did you already finish the proficiency one?
Yeah, we did proficiency.
Holy cow. All right, this is an issue. The problem is you guys are going through this so quickly, and I don't even have the next set of lessons planned yet. I should not tell you. I should tell you that I'm well prepared for all of this.
I still have to turn in a couple things, so I'll still be busy.
Yeah. Okay. I think it should be fixed now. I think.
Okay, cool. Let me check. All right. There we go. All right, it worked.
Okay. Cool.
Well, thank you.
No problem.